Well, yet another Trinamool leader is now in the eye of a storm for an insensitive comment about rape. As women's activists and the opposition protest, many are now asking whether Trinamool leaders feel emboldened to make such comments because party leader and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has refused to take a firm line with party men like actor turned MP Tapas Pal earlier on.
Deepak Haldar made this comment in a public meeting at his constituency Diamond Harbour last night. He did say that his words should not be taken out of context, but the damage had been done.
जिस पार्टी की नेता ममता बनर्जी हो, उन पार्टी की उनके नेता कभी तपस पाल इस तरह का बयान देते हैं, कभी उनके दूसरे नेता इस तरह का बयान देते हैं। ममता जी को संज्ञान लेना चाहिए और अपने पार्टी के नेता को इस तरह संवेदनहीन बयान देने से रोकना चाहिए, उन पर कार्रवाई करना चाहिए। लेकिन दुर्भाग्य यह है कि ममता जी उसको रोकने की जगह उसको प्रोटेक्ट करती हैं।
One after another Trinamool Congress people associated with the Trinamool Congress, legislators, member of parliaments coming up with such gender insensitive statements, and there are no actions taken. If action was taken against Tapas Pal, maybe this fellow, the elected legislator from the Diamond Harbour constituency, he must not made a statement.
The Trinamool has rushed to Haldar's defence.
I have already spoken to Deepak Haldar. He said that he has not uttered anything which goes against the general principle of the party.
If he has said such things, definitely it's not the party stand. Okay? I'm making it very clear. Any such incident is very unfortunate, regrettable, and should not happen.
Thank you so much.
But most critics agree that if the Trinamool had acted against Tapas Pal, Deepak Haldar may have been more careful with his choice of words. In Kolkata with Biswajit Das, Monideepa Banerjee, NDTV.
Well, the big question is Mamata Banerjee listening, and how can this culture of making comments like this carry on in the Trinamool Congress? And what about other political parties in the country? Are they any less guilty of making remarks like this? No matter how much everybody speaks about how the language and the discourse of politicians needs to change, nothing on the ground actually changes at all. Joining us to debate this, Renuka Chaudhary, Rajya Sabha MP of the Congress, Shaina NC, spokesperson of the BJP, Subhashini Ali, Politburo member of the CPM. With me in the studio, Monobina Gupta, author of Didi, a political biography. But there is no Trinamool guest on this program this evening, and we asked ourselves whether we should do this program without a Trinamool guest, and we decided we should nonetheless. So I'd like to thank all our panelists for being with us this evening. Subhashini Ali, let me come to you first. We talk about the Trinamool Congress, but I've got lists over here of how politicians from several political parties, the Congress party, the Samajwadi party, certainly the Trinamool party, are all responsible for this. How do politicians get away with the use of language like this?
Okay, first of all, I'd just like to correct you that I'm not a public Politburo member. I'm a Central Committee member of the CPIM. But having said that, you are right that many important politicians from many different political parties do make very atrocious statements, and many times these statements actually seem to justify some violence that has been meted out on a woman or a girl, or at least do not hold those who are responsible for this violence actually responsible. It's part of the habit of making women and girls responsible for everything that happens to them. The difference between other parties and the Trinamool party is that the Trinamool party leaders are actually saying things that their own people are also doing. I mean, what Tapas Pal said is something that has been done. Just before he said it, a month or so before, a woman and her aunt-in-law were dragged out of their homes and brutally raped because they were CPIM supporters. In fact, the villagers said they looked as if dogs had gotten after them. That was their condition.
Right.
After Tapas Pal's statement, another lady, Mrs. Giri, she was raped and then she was hanged because her husband had been driven out of the village, and they were being asked for money in order to come back. When they couldn't comply, she was raped. So now this other MLA has echoed the same kind of sentiments. So what they are saying is objectionable, but what they are doing is even more objectionable and should be taken note of.
Monabina Gupta, as an author, as somebody who studied Mamata Banerjee as closely as you have, why do you believe that that she allows a party to be run with people making comments like this? And if you look at some of her own comments, earlier if men and women would hold hands, they would get caught by parents and reprimanded, but now everything is so open. It's like an open market with open options. Rapes happen because men and women interact freely.
From the Park Road incident till today, this has been the kind of reaction.
No, I understand. Monabina Gupta, what gives the Trinamool Congress or Mamata Banerjee the right to make statements like this?
Firstly, the overall political culture, that's the general overall culture where I would like to contextualize Mamata Banerjee in, which is completely misogynist. It's not just the Trinamool Congress, but when it comes to Mamata, perhaps the expectation, however, it was a bit of an illusion to think that a woman chief minister would be far more kind of empathetic or would have a gender consciousness higher than her male colleagues, but that clearly isn't the case. Mamata has herself been making statements. She keeps silence, I think, whenever it comes from people in positions of authority, whether it's the Prime Minister or the Chief Minister of any state. Silence on selective occasions where you do not want to comment, otherwise you are communicative political personalities. I think they are signifiers of something deeper, a deeper malay. And in case of West Bengal, I would say, I come from the state, and I would say there is a deep-rooted patriarchal culture in West Bengal, contrary to the assumption or the myth that West Bengal was somehow had the political class had greater respect for women. It's not so. In Mamata's case, the biggest perhaps disappointment is this whole slogan of Poribarton or transformation with which she went to town and actually, she rode on the back of Shingur, Nondigram, Lalgarh and the popular movements. The transformation was not just in terms of a change of regime. The transformation was also supposed to have happened in areas like this, in cultural areas, in gender, in the political culture of West Bengal, which is so violent. But Mamata has clearly not made a break. She's just not only is she continuing, she's actually doing things far worse.
Subhashini Ali, let me ask you this. It's all very well to criticize the Trinamool Congress, but there have been CPM MLAs also who've made comments against her. Anisur Rehman, the Left Front's legislature party deputy leader, made comments.
He was forced to apologize.
But why would he make the remark itself? He said, we asked Didi Moni, what is your fee? How much will it take for you to get raped?
I'm saying that it is completely unacceptable what he said. And we condemned it in the strongest possible terms. We from the party condemned it, and he had to take...
You are almost obliged. You are obliged. All political parties are obliged to apologize for statements like this.
Why?
But
he had to apologize.
No, but
he had to apologize.
Right, you made him apologize.
Anil Basu was expelled. 1 minute, Anil Basu was expelled. So I'm saying that yes, objectionable statements have been made, but they have to be held accountable for those statements. They have to be punished for these statements. You can't just say that I can't kill him, I can't do this, I can't do that. You can't defend such statements. They're indefensible. Whoever makes them.
Renuka Chaudhary, Satyadev Katare, a Congress leader and MP, said, no man will harass a woman till she looks at him in a suggestive manner. So my question is the same, and I know you will condemn this remark, you will say it's wrong. But my question is, what gives anybody the right, political leaders, to make statements like this?
First of all, I think it's absolute ignorance and insolence of these men who have brought up to believe that they're God's gift to mankind, and particularly to women. Number two is that they believe that the system is such, there's so much porosity in the laws that we have and we don't apply, that they believe they'll get away with it. Number 3, the most important part, where men in workplaces and men in society look at women as if we are perks of their working environment and atmosphere, that we have been ordained to be there, to be extensions of their pleasure principles, and not that we are there on merit. And that is the thinking, that is the psyche that we need to address. And some of them actually believe they're doing you a favor, you know, by misbehaving like this. So in order to change that mentality, it does take women leaders that much more, which I expect from a person like Mamta. Here is a golden opportunity for her to showcase herself. She's not a woman who's supposedly tolerant of such things. Why does she allow these men to get away with it? If she makes an example of this, I can't even call him a man, you know, this moron who talks like this, then she should actually make an example of him and suspend him, because then the ripple effect takes place and workers realize that, hey, we can't talk like that. There are consequences to talk like this. We can't even think like that, because then we will be suspended. We'll lose the power game.
Okay, let me go across
and that should be applicable to them.
Fair enough. Shaina, Mohan Bhagwat in January 2013 was quoted as saying, rapes occur in India, not Bharat. It's a complete misunderstanding of violence against women. It's based on a notion which is completely wrong. And yet, you, as a spokesperson of the BJP, I'm sure you would feel obliged to defend him.
First, let me start by saying I couldn't agree more than what Renuka ji just said, because that is the befitting answer that any woman politician should give to her own cadre, so that they're not just principled, but they also realize that they need to speak with a certain kind of sensitivity. Coming to your core issue, and then I will address the point you asked me, because I'm not going to deflect for a minute. But just to let you know, in West Bengal, in 2012 itself, you had over 30,900 cases of reported atrocities against women, which was the highest in the country. Mamta Banerjee only chose to speak about how this is some kind of conspiracy against her. The media is highlighting it. Repeatedly, she's had members of parliament, members of her party, starting from Park Street, going on to Tapas Pal, going on to Mr. Haldar, who suggests that rape is natural. I think she first needs to educate her politicians in her party that rape is nothing but unnatural. It's a coercion of power. I am coming to Mr. Mohan Bhagwat, but please let me address the core issue here. The point is that if you are going to constantly shield and selectively be silent on issues and choose to speak about what you feel like, the rest of this country, and especially the women of this country who are a part of the political class, will completely feel let down by your leadership.
The right things on television.
Now coming to...
Right, but let me give you another quote. Rape is a Babulal Gaur, June 2014. Rape is a social crime which depends on men and women. It is sometimes right, sometimes wrong.
You asked me a question.
Go ahead.
You asked me a question.
It's the same thinking.
When Mohan Bhagwat ji made this statement, he was referring to the perverted mindset, a degradation of social and cultural values, which I think is something which is a foregone. It's a point that we all need to concede to. That why do rapes take place? Definitely there's a degradation in our society, and those moral values which start with the family system, where every man should be respecting a woman, looking up to a woman. All these are the value systems that we should not let go of.
Occur equally in different parts of the country. I mean, there may be some states where it occurs more, or some cities, but to say that Bharat and the implication being that it's a non-urban phenomenon, it is not a non-urban phenomena, that's wrong. Look at what's happening in Uttar Pradesh. No,
I don't think that is the connotation. That is not the connotation. The connotation is clearly that with the moving of time and with the kind of changing in our value systems, we've somewhere lost the plot and we've lost our roots. That was the reference to context. But we can be debating about this for hours and hours, and I could give you the entire speech and where this comment was made and what was said before and what was said after. So I think that we can be constantly debating about this, but the core issue here is that any political party where you have leaders who make these kind of casual statements, somebody suggesting that the woman is responsible, somebody suggesting that, you know, it's a natural phenomena, somebody suggesting this does not create any fear of law. And when there is no fear of law, the conviction rate also drops. So it's all a vicious circle. So if Mamata Banerjee truly thinks she's a champion of women's causes and women's issues, which is not seen here, she should first come up and speak. You have the education minister, Mr. Chatterjee, who goes on record and says, I've spoken to Haldar and he said nothing wrong.
All right, it's easy to slam the politicians of other political parties, but it seems that, and we don't have a guest from the Samajwadi Party this evening because some of the remarks made by Samajwadi Party leaders are absolutely horrific. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us, because there is no conclusion at all to this phenomena of our politicians across political lines believing that it's their right to say exactly what they want when referring to violence against women. But thank you so much for joining us to share your views.